Hello and welcome back, Midnight Readers. We are jumping right back into Once Upon a Fall. We are to the point in this story where they are finally getting to leave haunted Vermont and head back home to their beloved home in sunny California. However, there's a slight change in the seating arrangement. On the way up there, Nick had been part of the party. He proved to be a bit psychotic, murderous, and is now deceased, so clearly he's not going to be joining them on the way back down. However, his cousin Noah is. So, it will be Ben, Blake, Shelly, and Noah heading back down to their home in California. So, without further ado, let's jump right into chapter 21. Here we go. After we finished packing, I snuggled into bed with Blake. As my fingers trailed down his bare, chiseled chest, I was more than appreciative that this was one of the perks that I could now shamelessly enjoy. Just as my fingers reached his belly button, his hand clamped down on mine. Keep going, and there won't be any turning back. You'll have to kiss those full 8 hours of sleep you're hoping for goodbye. I wasn't used to this side of him, but I liked it. That was all the encouragement that I needed to keep going, even though I hadn't originally been planning on it. Trailing my fingers down to just above his pants, I looked up at him innocently. I don't know what you mean. Oh no? Then I'm going to have to show you, he said, grabbing a hold of my hips and pulling me on top of him. As I leaned down, pressing my lips to his fingers entangled in my hair. With one hand in my hair and the other around my waist, he was in full control. I love you, you know that, right? I couldn't help the smile that crept across my face. I know, I love you too. Is this okay? He asked, gently pulling me tighter. I nodded. I didn't know how I had gotten so lucky. He was literally everything I wanted and needed. Shortly after, exhaustion began to take over, and I lay there peacefully in his arms. I could feel my eyes growing heavy. Giving in, I whispered, "Good night," before allowing myself to drift off to sleep. We had a long few days of driving ahead of us, and needed to be well rested. Next thing I knew, I woke terrified. As I sat up, I realized that I was still in Blake's room, only I was alone. Where was Blake? My body trembled as the dream I had was stuck on repeat in my mind. Hey, what's wrong? Blake questioned, hurrying over to me. I had a bad dream, I said, feeling embarrassed. I let go of you for 1 second to go to the bathroom, and look what happens, he joked. I couldn't help but wonder if he was right, at least partly anyway. When I was in his arms, everything felt peaceful and quiet, but the minute he was gone, bad dreams and disturbing thoughts came flooding back in. No, but seriously, tell me what happened in your dream that got you so worked up. I didn't want to answer. Shelly, come on, talk to me. You and I both know that you won't be able to go back to sleep if you don't. I sighed. Fine. I saw Millie. She looked worried. She kept repeating, "He's watching. He's watching." Okay, I understand how that could have been unsettling, but let's think about it logically. We both know Nick is dead and not coming back. You saw it for yourself. We don't have to worry about him anymore. Maybe this is just your subconscious's way of dealing with the trauma. Yeah, maybe. But what if it turns out to be like in all those horror movies where everyone thinks the killer is dead, but he somehow survives and comes back when they least expect it? Shelly, that's fiction. He's not coming back. Come here, he said, pulling me back into his arms. As I laid back down with him, I couldn't help but wonder if there was a possibility that she had been talking about someone else. Could there have been someone else involved? Was it Noah? My mind began racing as I struggled to get comfortable. Blake must have been able to tell as well, as he pulled me back so close to him that my back was flushed against his chest before wrapping his arm around me. Go to sleep. You're safe, he whispered, kissing my head. Being in his arms like that made it feel as though the world were silent again, and I drifted off to sleep. Chapter 22. The next morning, after grabbing a bite to eat, we loaded our bags in the car and helped Noah to lock everything up. Ben was going to be riding back with Noah in his truck to help with the driving, and Blake and I would be taking turns driving the car. We drove in 6-hour shifts. When we finally made it home, we were not only relieved, but exhausted as well. Blake and I spent the first day back in bed at my place. We mostly slept, but in the time that we were awake, we were entangled in one another's arms. The second day, something odd occurred. Ben came over and spoke to Blake privately on our porch. They almost always spoke freely in front of me, regardless of the topic at hand. I couldn't help but wonder what was up, especially considering the extended length of this conversation. Everything okay? I inquired when Blake finally came back in. Yeah, there's just a new security project we're going to have to get started on ASAP. I thought you had the rest of the week off before you guys were going to get back to work. I know, that had been the plan. However, this is an important one that requires immediate attention. I'm sorry. You know I was looking forward to spending the next few days locked up in here with you. But don't worry, you still get me every night, and I promise that I'll pop in throughout the day each day, during any downtime that I can manage. How about this? I'll have breakfast and dinner with you every day, and lunches when I can swing it. I guess that's better than nothing, I pouted. He came over wrapping his arms around me. You are my number one priority. You know that, right? I nodded, standing on my tippy toes to kiss him. The way he ran his fingers in the back of my hair, giving a gentle pull, was invigorating, and only left me wanting more as he headed upstairs to grab his phone. Okay, I'm gonna go head over and knock out some of the preliminary stuff with Ben. I should be back soon. Oh, and Shelly? Make sure you keep the doors locked, he said before kissing me one last time. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Not just based on the strange, private conversation with Ben this morning, or Blake's random comment to keep everything locked just now, but I had this feeling in my gut that just wouldn't go away. I turned on the music and began to do the dishes. I knew if I didn't keep myself busy, my overactive imagination would undoubtedly get the better of me. Thankfully, having just got back in town, there are plenty of chores to be done. After finishing up the dishes, I popped into the garage to grab the laundry from the dryer. We had done it yesterday, but I had gotten distracted and never brought it in to put it away. As I turned to carry it in, a shadow crept past the garage door window. I glanced around, but I didn't think much of it. That was, until something ran into the trash can just outside of the garage. There was a clatter, and a neighborhood dog began barking. I knew it was probably just another dog or animal of some sort, but couldn't shake the feeling that had come over me. I couldn't get the dream that I had about Millie out of my mind. What if someone was watching? Back in the house, I sat on the couch and began to fold the laundry. I had just about finished when a shadow cast from something outside the window streaked across the wall. I immediately froze. I couldn't see anything outside the window from where I was sitting, so I sucked in a deep breath before tiptoeing over to the window to peer out. There was nothing, no humans or animals. Even with the chores, my imagination was still getting the better of me. With that, I shook my head and proceeded to put the laundry away. Just as I put the last of it away, a knock on the door caused me to jump. It was Noah. Hey, so apparently Blake and Ben have a new, unexpected project they're stuck working on today, which means Ben is unable to play my tour guide. Any chance you'd care to do the honors? Oh, sure, I replied, feeling a bit caught off guard by his request. I guess I really didn't have anything better to do right now, aside from wait for Blake to get back, and who knew how long that was going to take. Plus, I could use the distraction from the oddities that had been causing my imagination to go wild today. I gave Noah a tour of the town, stopping in a few of my favorite places along the way. Finally, we decided to stop by my favorite smoothie shop right next to the beach. The timing couldn't have been any more perfect, as we hit it right at sunset. Once back in the car, Noah looked over like he wanted to say something. What's up? I questioned. Want to know a secret? Sure. I was having a bit of a difficult day, but you did what you always seem to manage to do and made it a little bit brighter, so thanks for that. I smiled. As long as we were speaking candidly, I was needing distraction today too, so I should really be thanking you as well. After dropping him off at Blake and Ben's house, I parked in front of mine and proceeded up to the door. My heart began to race upon discovering the door was unlocked. I know for a fact that I locked that, I thought to myself. Quietly opening the door, I peered inside. I couldn't see anyone, but heard a strange noise coming from around the bend. Grabbing the baseball bat that I kept behind the door in case of emergencies, I proceeded towards the noise. As I got closer, I realized the noise sounded as though someone were drilling something. What was going on? Raising the bat over my head, ready to strike, I made my way around the corner. Whoa, beautiful! Save that for someone who actually deserves it, he said, catching the bat in his hand. Sorry, I yelped in surprise. No worries. I'm glad that you're on your toes, but we do need to talk. Curious as to what was prompting this serious demeanor, I nodded while eyeballing the tools and hardware sprawled out over the floor. I think you're right, I replied, nodding towards the mess. Blake chuckled. Oh, this is just a security system to make sure you're safe when I'm not here. Speaking of, you do realize how worried I would have been had Noah not let Ben know that you two are heading out? especially considering that my last 3 phone calls went straight to voicemail. I raised my brow questioningly as I pulled my phone out. I'm sorry, I didn't even realize it had died. No worries. Let's just try not to let that happen again, if possible. Also, don't laugh, but I put walkie-talkies in your bedroom and in my room next door, just like when we were kids, just in case of emergency or something. He was trying to play it cool, but I could see through the act. Something was definitely up. Is something going on that I should know about? I questioned, feeling a surge of worry coursing through me. Just making sure the most important girl in my life is safe. As he hugged me, my worries felt as though they were melting away. So, are you hungry? 'Cause I'm starving. Yeah, now that you mention it, I am. We could get takeout, I suggested. I was actually thinking that we could cook something together. I couldn't help but smile. I'd love to. Chapter 23. Blake's playful flirting as we made dinner together was a welcome distraction. It wasn't until after dinner that my mind began to wander as I eyed the fancy new alarm system he had installed. So, how's the project at work going? Everything's on track and going in the right direction, but that's boring stuff. I want to hear about how your day was with the oh-so-handsome Noah. I laughed and whacked his arm. I was thankful that his tone was playful now, opposed to dripping with jealousy as it had been the last time he had referred to Noah that way. Honestly, it was uneventful. However, it was a welcome distraction nonetheless. With that, Blake raised a brow questioningly. A welcome distraction? You couldn't have been missing me that much already, could you? No. I mean, of course, I would have much rather you have been home spending the day with me, but that wasn't it. What was it then? I glanced over at the window where I had seen the shadow earlier. I didn't want to answer. I knew how it would sound. I definitely didn't want him thinking that I was sitting at home like some scared little girl, allowing her imagination to get the better of her, while he was hard at work. Shelly? Oh, it was nothing. Anyway, I managed to know a bit of everything today, from beachside venues and restaurants to inland gyms and stores. Don't do that, he said, walking over and standing directly in front of me. Placing one arm just above my head, he pinned me with his body against the wall, as he tilted my chin up towards his face with his free hand. As I looked up at him, I couldn't help but get lost in his eyes. He looked as though he were going to say something, but moved in to kiss me instead. I loved the way his lips felt against mine. Wiggling one of my arms free, I rubbed my hand around the back of his neck, guiding his lips back down to mine just before he could fall away. I couldn't get enough of the tiny sparks that enveloped me each time we kissed. Excitement surged through me as he grabbed both of my wrists, pinning them above my head. The excitement I felt, as I anticipated what he was going to do next, quickly dissipated as he proceeded to speak. Okay, now tell me, what happened earlier today that you're not seeming to want to talk about? Fine, I sighed, pulling my arms back down. It wasn't a big deal. I thought I saw something outside the window when I was in the garage. Then some dogs started barking. A little later, when I had come back in, something outside had caused a large shadow to streak across the living room. Like I said, it was probably nothing. I'm probably just still on edge from everything that transpired in Vermont. It looked as though the color had been drained out of Blake's face as he stood there staring at me silently. Everything okay? I questioned, not really sure what to say. Yeah, I'm sorry that I left you home alone. I should have been here with you today. I'll see if I can set up a workstation here, so that I can at least be here a little bit more. What? You don't have to do all that. I'm telling you, I don't think it was that big of a deal, and nothing came of it. It was probably just my imagination getting the better of me. Honestly, it's not anything that you need to worry about. Yes, it is, he muttered, turning to grab his phone. Okay, that confirmed it. Something was definitely up. The drastic change in his demeanor that my telling him had prompted said it all. He would have normally teased me about a scenario such as this, not get crazy overprotective. There was something he wasn't telling me. Blake, is something going on? With that, he set his phone back down and wrapped an arm around my shoulders. There is something Ben and I are looking into, but there isn't any reason to worry about it just yet. If a reason manifests, I promise to tell you, okay? I didn't like the sound of that. My mind began to go a million miles a minute. What if whatever it was that he thought wasn't a problem yet was already here? What if that wasn't actually a what, but rather a who? Could it be who Millie had been trying to warn me about? And if it wasn't a reason to worry yet, why the new high-tech alarm system? Not wanting Blake to see the concern taking hold of me, I attempted to mask it by leading him up to the bedroom. After giving each other massages, we snuggled up to go to sleep. As he held me from behind, I could feel his warmth. A few minutes later, He pressed his body against mine. Shelly, you still awake? I don't know why I didn't answer. Perhaps part of me wanted to see what he would do or say. Were there any juicy secrets waiting to be divulged if he thought I were asleep? Grabbing onto my hips, he pulled me against him. God, I need you, he whispered under his breath. In that moment, I couldn't help but give in, trailing my hand up his muscular arm. Can I have you? He whispered, his voice both intense and desperate. There was no way to deny a request like that. The feeling was mutual, and before I knew it, I found myself helpless in his arms. The sparks I felt as he touched me were intoxicating. I had never experienced anything so intense. My breath caught as a feeling of pure ecstasy took over. I couldn't help but smile at the way he kissed me on my forehead, just before rolling onto his back. As he went to hop in the shower, I pulled on one of his t-shirts. Being back in Southern California, we still hadn't reached a reprieve from the summer heat yet, despite the fact that it was now officially fall. Our cool down typically came sometime between mid-October and mid-November every year. Tonight was no exception. It was warm, but not quite warm enough to turn on the air conditioner. So I went over to the window to let in some fresh air. As I did, my attention was drawn to a shadowy figure standing out on the sidewalk. Whoever it was dressed in all black, and they appeared to be staring directly back at me. I froze, unable to look away. I wasn't able to make out who it was, but based on their stature and stance, I was fairly certain it was a man. I gasped as two muscular arms enveloped me. Whoa, what's up? You good? Blake teased. There's someone out there, I said, pointing out the window. As I looked back out, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was no one there. Everything seemed silent and calm as the breeze blew in the window and danced around in my hair. I swear there was someone out there. I'm absolutely positive. I can even tell you what they were wearing. Okay, I believe you. Tell me what you saw. First things first, was it a guy or girl? It was, well, I'm actually not sure. They were in all black with a baggy hoodie on, but their stature appeared to be that of a typical male. I could hear how it sounded, and I knew what he was probably thinking. Okay, how about this? What were they doing? I shook my head. I don't know. They appeared to be just standing there staring. Well, it seems as though whoever it was is gone now. I'll check to see if the security camera that Ben had installed today picked up anything when I head over there tomorrow morning. As for tonight, no one is getting in here without us knowing with the new alarm system. Plus, I'll be right here by your side all night. And if that isn't reassurance enough, the 22 is in the top drawer of the nightstand on my side, in case of emergency. He said, guiding me back to the bed. I didn't really fancy the thought of keeping a gun by the bed, but in this instance, it offered a shocking level of reassurance. Blake, Ben, and I had all been taught how to shoot when we were in our teens. Blake and Ben ended up doing it recreationally for a while and even won a few tournaments. As for myself, I learned solely as a form of self-defense. Even with that being the case, I never thought that I would actually have to use it. As the breeze cooled the room to a tolerable temperature, we both finally drifted off to sleep in one another's arms. Chapter 24. I woke to Blake kissing me. Hey, I'm running over to get some stuff done with Ben. Breakfast is on the table. See you later, beautiful. I smiled and stretched sleepily. Remembering that Ben had gotten a security camera installed got me thinking about the strange occurrences that I had witnessed over the last few days. Having a security camera would be nice. That way, I would have seen if someone was actually out there, or if it in fact had been my imagination playing tricks on me. Although, based on Blake's recent behavior, it was obvious that something was up. It seemed that he had been hinting at things, yet refusing to actually say what was going on. And now that I thought about it, getting a few security cameras of my own didn't seem like a bad idea. With that, I got ready and headed to the store. After comparing all the options, I finally settled on 2 mini indoor hiding cameras and a larger outdoor one. I had just finished setting them up and hiding the 2 indoor cameras when the doorbell rang. Peeking out of the peephole, my heart stopped. Oh my God. It was Nick! I blinked, peering back out to make sure I wasn't seeing things. Okay, it wasn't Nick. This person was definitely too tall. It was hard to make out who it was through the peephole, especially considering I was staring at the side of their head. However, whoever this was, bared an uncanny resemblance to him from the side. I remained staring, frozen from the initial shock, until the person turned back towards the door. As I saw his face head on, I immediately unlocked the door, flinging it open. Dylan? Shelly! He exclaimed, picking me up and swinging me around. What are you doing here? I have some business in town this week and thought I'd stop by to say hi and see how you've been. Here, come in. I can't believe it's really you. After pouring us both some iced tea, I showed him to the living room. I noticed he was staring at me with a strange look. What's up? Nothing. Just remember the last time that I saw you. Yeah, that was a good summer. An amazing summer. Until you left without saying goodbye. Shelly, your so-called best friend had come back. And I wasn't blind. I could tell how close you two were. It was causing a rift between us, as well as problems with you two. So when I got the call that my little brother had gotten into trouble, I finally had to accept the fact that my place wasn't here. What? Are you serious? I had no idea that was the reason you had been acting differently, let alone that you had a brother. I wish you would have at least told me that. Would it have made a difference? Of course it would have. I would have found a way to make things work, and who knows? Maybe I could have even helped you with your brother's situation. You wouldn't have been happy. You couldn't possibly know that. I was absolutely crushed when you left. I thought it was because of something I had done. I even tried reaching out after I realized you had left town, but I guess you'd already gotten a new number. I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. It was never my intention. I just thought a clean break would be easiest for both of us. I loved you, Shelly. You always have, and always will have a place in my heart. With that, my jaw dropped. I loved you too, but you broke my heart. I really am sorry. I probably could have handled it better, but my heart was breaking too. Like I said, it was only a matter of time before you realized you weren't happy. How could you possibly say that? I was happy. No, you thought you were happy, but I saw you, Shelly. What is that supposed to mean? I came by to see you last night, and you know what I saw? The same guy that held your heart back then, holding you in his arms. You don't get it. It wasn't like that between us back then. This is a recent development. Very recent, in fact. No, it's not. Not really. Just because you hadn't acknowledged it yet doesn't mean it wasn't there. It's okay, though. I'm happy to see you happy. Hey, smile. That has always been my favorite thing about you. Just then, the screen door slammed shut, causing me to jump. I turned just in time to see Blake protectively stalking towards me. I couldn't place the look on his face, but it wasn't a good one. Hey, Blake, Dylan said, extending his hand to shake Blake's. Blake cocked his head, staring at him. I couldn't tell if he truly didn't remember him, or if he was just unhappy to see Dylan. What's up? I questioned. You see it, don't you? Blake questioned accusingly. See what? I questioned back. The resemblance? Immediately I knew what he had been referring to. It was clear that Dylan had reminded him of Nick as well. No, Blake, this is Dylan. As in Dylan from the summer that you went abroad? With that, Blake's eyes grew wide as he reluctantly shook his hand. I watched Blake's eyes as they narrowed. So, what brings you back after all this time? I just had some business in town this week. I'm only planning on being here a couple more days before I head back home. I see. Where's home? Dylan hesitated briefly before answering, but I had caught it. Vermont. Blake's brow shot up as he gave me a sideways glance. Anyway, I should probably be going. Maybe we can all grab a bite to eat or something before I head out of town. I'll call you. As he said that, I realized that this probably would be the last time I'd ever see him. The first guy who had ever made me fall head over heels, and the only guy who had ever broken my heart. We walked him out to the porch. As he hugged me goodbye, I whispered in his ear, I don't know if you were right or wrong to have made those assumptions back then, but I understand that your intentions were good. I appreciate the clarification and closure. Take care of yourself. With that, he smiled, giving my hand a little squeeze before getting back in his truck and driving away. Turning back to Blake and seeing the look on his face, I braced myself. So? So? I questioned back. I sure as heck wasn't going to be the one to start that conversation. Do you still have feelings for him? I don't know. I guess on some level you always have a spot for your first real crush, but it's not anything that I'd ever act on. And it definitely can't hold a candle to my first true love. Oh, great. And who might that be? He replied with a serious tone. You silly, I said, laughing as I stood on my tippy toes, wrapping my arms around his neck. All right, good answer. I love you too, he said, kissing me. He then pulled back with a strange look. What? You did see it too, right? What? The resemblance he had to Nick. I sighed. Yes, I saw it. I just about had a heart attack when I looked through the peephole to see who was at the door earlier. It must be a coincidence. I mean, come on, it's Dylan. I don't know. I shot him a weary look. This isn't me not liking him just because he's your ex, not to mention the fact that he broke your heart, and I had to hear about it for months. It's just awfully coincidental that not only does he look like Nick, but he shows up now after everything that just happened. And Vermont? Come on, Shelly. He's from freaking Vermont. If he calls, I don't want you to meet up with him without me or Ben. Promise me. I promise, but he won't be calling. How can you be so sure? He literally just said he would. Because he doesn't have my number. And not only that, but that tends to be his go-to phrase before he dips out with no intention of seeing you ever again. Yet here he is years later. I shook my head. I honestly don't believe he would ever do anything to hurt me. I don't think you need to worry about him. But, like I said, I promise not to meet up with him without you guys, okay? Good girl. Alright guys, that is a wrap for today. We will be starting back up at chapter 25 next time. Have a good night.